Okay, so hello everybody, good morning and welcome back to the EduphoreIAS, the Hindu live class. Uh, Sorry, I got a bit late. Actually, my system hanged, so I was framing questions for you guys for today. In that, actually wasted around 5-10 minutes. So, first, as I promised you yesterday, that we'll be first starting this class with the discussion of the previous day question, and then we'll be starting with the today's Hindu, and then at the end of the class again you will be getting questions from the today's Hindu newspaper itself. Fine. So चलो, I hope कि आप लोगों ने इसको solve करने की कोशिश जरूर की होगी, and we had discussed this article yesterday. Fine, World Coin Project. So I hope that this question was not that difficult. Those who have solved it and those who tried, actually you can put your this answer in the comment section. Whatever options you have marked as correct answer, correct option for this particular question, you can put the same in your current this particular comment section. Fine. तो वहां पे आप लोग लिख दो फटाफट से जिसका भी जो भी आंसर है. Then I will tell you the correct answer for this question. So consider the following statement with respect to the World Coin Project. This project is spearheaded by, first statement is by Elon Musk, Tesla. Remember, this project is, yesterday we discussed, is spearheaded by not Elon Musk, Tesla, but by Sam Altman, who is CEO OpenAI. That is the company actually which came up with the chat GPT. Fine. So he is a CEO of this company, OpenAI, American company, deals with artificial intelligence basically. Fine. So this is not the Elon Musk Tesla, but Sam Altman's OpenAI, fine, which has proposed this World Coin Project. Remember. Next statement is the project is going to create a digital network in which everyone can claim some kind of stake and therefore participate in the digital economy. So indeed, this statement is correct. This is wrong. Fine. Second is correct. Why so? Because the focus of this is it is going to create a digital network in which everyone can claim some kind of a stake. Now, what does it mean? Remember, under this project, what you need to offer is actually the scanning of your iris, this iris, fine? The eye, we're talking about eyes, iris eyes of eyes. So once you get, so by scanning your iris, the, this will be providing some unique or some characteristic features of yours, fine? And in exchange, you will be getting some coin. That's why the name is World Coin, and this coin is like cryptocurrency only, fine? So it's a kind of cryptocurrency. World Coin volunteers are known as orb operators. Yes, even this is correct because we discussed this yesterday, fine? So 2 and 3 correct. First is wrong, means how many pairs are correct? Just 2, only 2 pairs are correct, that is 2 and 3. So this is the correct answer, okay? Next question was subjective one, that is for mains, and that is, while India has made big strides, it still has a long way to go in becoming truly digital India. Comment. Now, how we can introduce this topic or write the answer for 10 marker in 150 words. Remember, this is correct that India has actually made big strides in digital ट्रांजैक्शन. स्पेशली यू सी द यूपीआई पेमेंट. आज के टाइम में हर जगह आपको क्यूआर कोड स्कैन करने को, सब्जी वाले रेडी दुकान पे हर जगह आपको, इवन इफ यू वांट टू पे 10 रुपीज यू कैन इजीली स्कैन दैट, फाइन, क्यूआर कोड एंड पे 10 रुपीज इंस्टेड ऑफ पेइंग इन कैश. So no doubt India has made big strides, especially if you compare from 2014 and if you see today at this 2022 March. So of course we have gone long way, fine. And today almost 80% of, I have mentioned the World Bank data. This is the one way how you can introduce your this answer basically with a data point, let us say. So World Bank, according to World Bank Findex survey, Findex, that we discussed article yesterday, and this was mentioned there. Findex survey, 80% of the Indians are now connected through this, you can say UPI, through Jan Dhan account, or 80% of Indians possess Jan Dhan account basically, fine. So here comes the point of financial inclusion now. but let us go point wise. So one way to start this answer is this data point, means giving this figure according to World Bank Index survey, 80% of the Indians have this access to the digital payment. Fine. So this is one thing. Another thing is, remember, while India has made big strides, now how to decode the questions. So of course this is the first half showing something, improvement, remarkable achievements actually on this front, but the second is still has a long way to go in becoming truly digital. Still we have a long way to go. Why so? Why it is saying so? Because number one, this is introduction should be for 10 marker, not more than 3 let us say 4 lines, 3-4 lines even is maximum of 4 lines. It should be in the range of 2-3 lines, 3 lines somewhere ideal. Okay, 150 words. Keep in mind this thing, you get just 2 pages for this to write your answer. Fine. At times not even this, so you need to keep in mind this. So for 10 marker, this much, 3 to 4 lines of introduction, and then the body part of your answer. So here actually you need to substantiate what you have written. First is, while India has made big strides. Now why and how India has made big strides? Now here you need to mention some data points as well, because this is a statistical kind of game, data points, that why the UPI has made great progress over the time. So you need to mention, you can mention the figure. Apart from that, second point could be like UPI is more acceptable because of real-time settlement. Fine. The moment you scan a QR code, actually you see that the amount has already been received to the shopkeeper, let us say, account or to the mobile wallet. Fine. So UPI is a real-time settlement mechanism. So again, this is one of the positive things, that why it has received so much of acceptability even among common masses. Fine. So this is another point. Now data point means you need to quote a figure here. Apart from that, these are the positive things. Fine. Now you need to mention some negative things. Fine. And third point, here you can write down like, but still India has a long way to go in becoming truly digital because of the following reasons. Number one is, yesterday we discussed 2 types of divide. So number 1 and 2. First, let us say gender divide, because you see males having better access to digital access and this mechanism or these platforms. Fine. Plus rural urban divide. This is how you balance your answer actually. Firstly, you are painting the this positive picture, then you are actually even raising the issues, the core issues. Fine. So through this, and you can use some data points from the yesterday's article that we actually discussed. Fine. And apart from that, you can on this, after this, you can conclude this answer with the help of, let us say, so this, since the question is of 2 markers, so 2 points and 2 points, 4 points in your body is more than enough. Fine. And then comes your introduction alongside that. Not working? Okay. So after that, gender divide, rural urban divide. After this, you can, this is where you can stop now putting points in your body part, otherwise it will take more time and space as well, which has not actually been permitted for 10 marker question for and under 150 words. So now what will you do? So in the way forward, you can, or the conclusion part, you can again, this is how you maintain a flow in your answer. Like we started with the World Bank Index survey index. Here also we can say that out of 80% of the active Jan Dhan account or access to this digital payment, let us say only 53% accounts are active, and even out of that 42% are the accounts which are actually making the payments. Need to mention 2-3 things here. Do use keywords like financial inclusion you can use this in either in your introductory paragraph or in body part as well. Then also use some keywords like Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Fine. So these are the keywords which should be there in your answers. Fine, related to this digital payment and accessibility. This is how. Then at the end you can provide some positive points, like you are painting the picture on a futuristic note. Fine, that you are actually positive or optimistic about India actually marching on this path or making strides on digital front. So you can say, though there are certain problems that we have mentioned in the body part, but there are certain points or the way forward which can be way forward और द सॉल्यूशन जिसको भी बोलते हैं हम. तो फर्स्ट पॉइंट की जेंडर डिवाइड जो है उसको कम करना, रूरल एरिया गैप जो है एंड एक्सेसिबिलिटी को रेज करना. फॉर एग्जांपल इंटरनेट पेनिट्रेशन जो है रूरल एरियाज में, बिकॉज गूगल पे पेमेंट करने के लिए आपको इंटरनेट की एक्सेसिबिलिटी तो चाहिए, सीधी सी बात है. सो उस पर काम करना. So this is how you can provide the solutions as well. So these are two ways. Either conclude with whatever you have written alongside some more insights, or you can conclude instead of including using this heading as conclusion, you can use this. This is first, this is second. Either or. Fine. Either conclusion or way forward, and you can mention here some solutions. Fine. That what you think and what, or even you can quote here some committee's name, some person, renowned person who have quoted something like that, or any world agency or the institution. Fine. So this is how you actually end your answer. Complete from introduction to body to conclusion. Means we are following a simple rule called IBC: intro, body, and conclusion. Fine. So this is how actually we write the answers in the UPSC. I hope things are clear. Those who have written, please find out whether these key points are there in your this answer or not. If these points are there, then of course you have written a good answer. If these are not, please do write it again after going through once again yesterday's article. Fine. Okay, moving to now the today's Hindu analysis. Okay, so let us see quickly कि क्या important है आज के न्यूज़पेपर से. मणिपुर इशू जो कि अभी भी every day you find in news. So Supreme Court finally Chief Justice ने कहा है कि give us complete breakdown of 6,000 FIRs SC to Manipur government. It means कि 6,000 FIR जो है वो already lodge हो चुकी है मणिपुर में, and Supreme Court ने उसकी डिटेलिंग मांगी है. Fine. Court proposes appointing its own special investigation team SIT when surprised to find central and state governments groping in the dark for facts about crimes which are public knowledge reported widely in the national media. Case listed for today's hearing. No excuse for violence against Manipur women. So CJ ने भी कहा है कि you cannot use this Manipur incident as an excuse, and you can substantiate this or complement this with what's going on in other states. So of course of course we cannot justify one incident or in one part or state of India with, let us say, the similar kind of incidents going on in another state. That is the work of our politicians, not ours. Fine. Okay. Delhi service bill all set to be tabled today in Lok Sabha. Delhi bill already you have discussed is an ordinance actually which is going to this change the relation that actually exists currently between LG and the elected government of Delhi, especially with respect to the appointment of bureaucrats in Delhi. Fine. So let us quickly have a look at this. Okay, so from right side, that is only important. From this side, former judge moves Bombay High Court seeking pension. Okay. So she is the judge Pushpa Ganediwala who faced flack for her controversial ruling in case under the POCSO Act has moved the court seeking pension applicable to a judge. Of course इनको pension नहीं मिल रही है because of her own judgments and all. So this topic, gender inequality in housework, it cuts across income level and caste group. We will see this data point. Fine. August to see below normal rainfall, IMD ने कहा है it is because of El Nino. Fine. El Nino is a warming phenomena. It's a warming of ocean, basically ocean phenomena. Fine. or actually which actually suppresses the southwest monsoon rainfall in India. Fine. It generally arises in the eastern and southern Pacific Ocean at the coast of Ecuador and Peru. Fine, where you see such kind of oceanic phenomena which leads to the warming of ocean, and therefore it suppresses the monsoon rainfall in India. Of course not good for India. Okay, न्यूज़ फ्रॉम सिटी और दिल्ली, मैंने पहले भी कहा है जो लोग दिल्ली से ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं वो सिर्फ इस चीज़ को रीड कर सकते हैं, बिकॉज एज अ सिटीजन आपको अवेयरनेस होनी चाहिए कि हमारे अराउंड चल क्या रहा है. ठीक है. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट सिटी एंड not that important. Fine. This is the bill actually going to be introduced in this Lok Sabha today. So the Delhi Service Bill likely to be tabled today in Lok Sabha. So you see this bill designates LG as the authority. We will have the final say on the postings and transfer of bureaucrats in the Delhi government. The government of NCT, that is National Capital Territory, Delhi Amendment Ordinance 2023, this is the name of the bill, which is a new body, that is NCCSA. What exactly is the NCCSA? This picture is very important. Fine. So what is NCCA? It is already a little bit blurred. Okay. So this is related to Group A Civil Services Officers Appointment and Transfer. So how will it function? National Capital Civil Service Authority, that is what NCCSA, the full form. NCCA votes on transfers, posting, prosecution, sanction, disciplinary proceedings, vigilance issues, etc. There would be 3 members in this appointing commission: Chief Minister, Chief Secretary and Principal Home Secretary. Means 2 bureaucrats, IS bureaucrats from the center, of course, both Chief Minister, Chief Secretary and Principal Home Secretary, the IS officers, of course. So from the center side, Chief Minister can be vetoed, because that's why you have 3 members. It can be vetoed like 2-1 majority, 2 bureaucrats, 1 CM in minority. So of course the vote will go with, the decision will go with the bureaucrats. So that is the issue of actually the AAP government of Delhi, because they are saying that since you are putting CM in minority, you are putting an elected government head in minority. So this is the real issues, because you are giving upper hand or veto, almost veto to the bureaucrat or the center itself, or to LG. LG decision is final in case of Lieutenant General. In case of disputes, Lieutenant Governor can return the NCCA recommendations if he disagrees with it. Okay? So this is the whole, this mechanism of how the NCCSA, National Capital Civil Services Authority, going to work, which has been proposed. Let us see whether it gets passed from the parliament or not. The real issue is with the Rajya Sabha, because the government doesn't enjoy this clear-cut majority in Rajya Sabha, so that's the issue. ओके क्विकली अब स्टेट्स की रिलेटेड पेजेस हैं, आपको मोस्टली यहाँ पे आपको पॉलिटिक्स रिलेटेड चीज़ें देखने को मिलती है. ठीक है, और एक्सीडेंट्स एंड ऑल. तो फाइनली हम एडिटोरियल पेज पे आ गए हैं, आज के जो मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट पेज किसी भी न्यूज़पेपर के. तो देखते हैं क्विकली कि एडिटोरियल पेज से क्या इंपॉर्टेंट है हमारे लिए. आर्टिकल 370 हियरिंग आज स्टार्ट हो रही है सुप्रीम कोर्ट में, and Supreme Court is going to check. Remember, keep in mind the question actually. So Supreme Court is going to check, I hope जिसको ये नहीं पता फर्स्ट बैकग्राउंड में कि 370 आर्टिकल पे अब्रोगेट किया गया था बाय द ऑर्डर ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट इन द ईयर 2019 इटसेल्फ बाय द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट. आर्टिकल 370 जो है वो एक स्पेशल पावर देता है जम्मू एंड कश्मीर को. फाइन. तो इस चीज को एब्रोगेट किया गया था, एंड अर्लियर जम्मू एंड कश्मीर, सो नाउ जम्मू कश्मीर हैज बिकम द similar like other states of India, okay, after the abrogation of article which actually provided special status to the Jammu and Kashmir. So 370 इसकी जो लीगैलिटी है कि जो गवर्नमेंट ने अमेंड किया या जो इसको एब्रोगेट किया, so whether this was legal, fine. So Supreme Court is actually going to check the legality of this abrogation of 370. and not actually what happened or the positive outcomes or the outcomes uh, related to this abrogation. So basic issue is about court has already made it clear that what it will consider is not the consequences of the measures adopted but their legality. In other words, the question that it will strive to answer is whether as a matter of law the decision made on Article 370 are ultra vires the Constitution. I mean it is not ultra vires, that is null and void with respect to Constitution. Fine. So we'll be keeping tab on this the moment. I mean this has been painted referred to as a history and all that, Jammu and Kashmir, so we're not going to that. Rather we'll be keeping tab on this news, and as the Supreme Court starts hearing on this matter, so we'll be waiting for the Supreme Court judgment and then we will be discussing the same whatever Supreme Court has said. Fine. So just keep tab on that. Now this article is important because it is about one of this important schemes of Government of India, and that is Pradhan Mantri Ujala Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Ujwala Yojana, not Ujala. There are two schemes, remember. So this is Pradhan Mantri Ujwala. This is related to Pradhan Mantri Ujwala, UJJWAL, Ujwala Yojana. Remember, Ujwala Yojana is related to LPG distribution, especially to the BPL population by the Government of India. Fine. And there is another scheme called Ujala. So Ujala means white, related to light. So especially this Ujala scheme is related to the distribution of LEDs at a subsidized price. LEDs, bulbs. Okay, so that is Ujala and this is Ujwala. Please do not confuse yourself. Let us discuss this. Recalibrating India's clean cooking strategy. तो इस आर्टिकल में बात क्या कर रहे हैं जो राइटर हैं, और रिकैलिब्रेट करने की बात करें इंडिया की क्लीन कुकिंग स्ट्रेटजी को. जो प्रधानमंत्री उज्ज्वला योजना है, टू गिव यू अ बैकग्राउंड, इट वाज लॉन्च्ड इन द ईयर 2016 and it was called as PMYU 1.0. Now the second PMY, Pradhanmantri Ujjwala Yojana 2.0 was launched in the year 2021. Fine. So what were the certain, the objectives are all? See, the Gramin Vitrak Yojana before this launched in 2009 has helped grow the rural distributor base from 18% to 60% of the total LPG distributor base today. The ambitious Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana has provided more than 9.5 crore new households with LPG connections since 2016. तो 2016 में जो 1.0 स्कीम लॉन्च की गवर्नमेंट ने प्रधानमंत्री उज्ज्वला योजना, इसमें जो टारगेट था दैट वाज टू डिस्ट्रीब्यूट 8 करोड़ ऑफ LPG cylinders to the BPL population. Give this cylinders to the BPL population at a highly subsidized rates. ठीक है. Under this, after that, in 2021, additional 2 crore provisions were made, so 9.5 crore or somewhere 10 crores. Fine. With near universal coverage of LPG, this is nothing short of an administrative and operational miracle. However, for the first time, LPG consumption in India households saw an absolute reduction in financial year 23. It is minus 0.5% versus 2022 after years of steady growth. The question now is, how long must India consider just subsidizing LPG to improve adoption, and what are the other options that it can explore? Fine. अब इस पूरे में आर्टिकल में जो बात की गई है वो इतनी सी बस कि जो प्रधानमंत्री उज्ज्वला योजना है, इट्स indeed a successful scheme or program, but this is a highly subsidized, as I mentioned. So is it a sustainable in the long run, and to what extent government will subsidize actually it for the adoption purpose? आप लोगों ने देखा होगा कि इसमें डेटा पॉइंट है, आई विल बी कमिंग टू दैट, कि ऐसा नहीं है कि जितने लोगों को आपने सिलेंडर सपोज 9.5 करोड़ को दी तो सब लोग यूज कर रहे हैं. नो, फर्स्ट आपने रिफिल फ्री दी, सेकंड फ्री दी, उसके बाद आपने एटलीस्ट कुछ तो अमाउंट चार्ज करोगे. तो द मोमेंट यू स्टार्ट एक्चुअली चार्जिंग इवन अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ दिस refueling charges from the rural areas or from the BPL population, actually stopped using the LPG altogether. Fine. But even in urban areas, you see post-COVID, what happened on the onset of COVID, government of India actually withdrew this subsidy. Fine. Earlier, you used to get subsidy on LPG connections, especially I'm talking about for general masses, urban areas especially. So, but now it was altogether stopped. Why? Because government used that money or revenue in order to saved on the subsidy bills. So, in order to provide the same or redistribute that amount to the BPL population through this 9.5 crore of LPG distribution. फाइन. तो ऐसा नहीं कि गवर्नमेंट सरकार घर से पैसे थोड़ी लाएगी, एक जगह से लेके दूसरे को दे दिया. ठीक है, दैट इज कॉल्ड रीडिस्ट्रीब्यूशन. बट हुआ क्या कि यहाँ पे एक बात इन्होंने की कि ओवरऑल फाइनेंशियल ईयर 23 में हमें ये देखने को मिला है कि जो एलपीजी कंजम्पशन है इन इंडिया among the households, it has registered minus 0.5% growth. Why so? Because now today you get LPG cylinders somewhere in the range of 100, around 1100. Fine. So of course there was a time when you were getting this same LPG okay. So you used to get cylinders in the range of 500, 600. And rest was the subsidy actually being given by the government to you. But today this is not the case. तो अगर आप सिलेंडर एक सिलेंडर अगर आपको ओवर द टाइम 1200-1400 का मिलना स्टार्ट हो जाता है, तो नाउ द अर्बन पॉपुलेशन एक्चुअली which is the meager population actually using this let us say electric stove or shifting towards the e-cooking. Okay. So because of this, what is happening? We have registered the negative growth in the LPG use by 0.5% in the financial year 23. Now LPG story. In the recent past, the share of Indian household using LPG as a primary cooking fuel had risen to 71% in 2020 from 33% in 2011. You see more than 50% of growth according to the IRES, that is Indian Residential Energy Consumption Survey conducted by the Council on Energy, Environment and Water. It was clear indication that Indian household wanted to adopt clean cooking solutions and policy could overcome preferences and financial barriers. However, global events that unfolded since the COVID-19 pandemic and the ensuing loss of livelihoods and income on the one hand and the Russian invasion of Ukraine, yes, from here on I actually forgot to mention in the answer writing that I was discussing related to Digital India, the two factors you should mention under that are, just insert a subheading in your body part where you need to write that what the factors actually which which led to a massive increase in the UPI payments. Number one, that was mentioned in yesterday article, COVID-19 pandemic, and number two, the world geopolitics, you can say, or especially the first is COVID-19 pandemic and second factor was the Russian-Ukraine conflict, or you can say the adoption of digital platforms, especially the major factor actually the COVID-19, because on the this lockdown when physical contacts were almost almost not there, so there at that time people prefer to, instead of handshaking and all, you started saying namaste. So in the similar fashion, instead of giving cash, you just transferring the amount. So COVID-19 was one of the most important factor which actually led to the rise in the UPI payment. So do mention these factors under your answer, especially the body. So Russian invasion of Ukraine again resulted in the this instability or volatility in the crude and this petroleum product prices, even the gases. So this dented even a near-term prospect of universal use of LPG in Indian household. Fine. So with the onset of COVID-19, subsidy for LPG consumption was withdrawn for all consumers. This is what I have already explained. He is explaining the subsidy were withdrawn from all the consumers, and then this amount was actually used for distributing the cylinders under Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. And because of all this, the positive thing that we noted is this drove the annual refill rates for LPG among Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana consumers to their highest level of 4.55 cylinders per active connections. Means out of 5 active connections, 4.55 cylinders were getting refueled. Again, that's why he referred it as a miracle. फर्दर नॉमिनल सब्सिडी की बात कर रहे हैं कि नॉमिनल सब्सिडी ऑफ ₹200 per cylinder was reinstated for प्रधानमंत्री उज्ज्वला योजना consumers in September 2022 and it helped improve refill rates in. So the moment actually government withdrew this subsidy from the even this type of consumers, the BPL consumers of LPG, you see somewhere the refueling rate going down, but the moment government provides subsidy, the refueling rates going up. Fine. So this is what he is underlining throughout this paragraph. So what are the challenges? Another challenge is that India's dependence on imported LPG, the refined commodity, has steadily increased to over 64% in financial year 23. Fine. So that's another issue. Further, Indian households may have seen a near doubling in LPG prices since May 2020 in nominal terms, with volatile international prices, especially since the Russian war against Ukraine, and a domestic budget that relies on petroleum. So these are the issues. Indian government used to provide around subsidy of 20,000 crores. If we consider this amount with respect to the base year 2020, 11, 12 for LPG subsidies. In the first 2 decades of the 21st century, diversity in cleaning, cooking. So now we need to, have diversity in the, this cooking or using fuel for cooking. So what kind of diversity we can have? We can use electric cooking, including induction cooktops, fine, because this can significantly offset the need for flame-based cooking. With near 100% access to electricity connections, rural households can also shift specific cooking needs to electricity. Start using electric based inductions and electric cooking. Fine. Even if he is saying, let us assume that a high tariff of 8 rupees per unit of electricity, e-cooking would still be cheaper than cooking using LPG at today's prices, somewhere in the range of 1100 per cylinder. Equally, there are legitimate concerns about the power distribution grid in rural India and its ability to support all electric cooking, given the high power needs of the extant technology. बट क्वेश्चन यहाँ भी अराइज होता है, जैसे आज के टाइम में आप देखते हो जब हाई डिमांड है इलेक्ट्रिसिटी की तो कट्स बहुत ज्यादा लगती हैं, इवन मॉर्निंग में भी लग जाती है या इवनिंग में लग जाए, फिर खाना कैसे बनाओगे, सीधी सी बात है. फाइन. सो वी नीड टू हैव अ रिलायबल सप्लाई ऑफ इलेक्ट्रिसिटी. In urban areas, nearly 10% of the households already use electrical appliances for their cooking needs, and they can see the bigger transition that we want to realize in rural areas. One possible mechanism to nudge the shift is e-cooking could be through telescopically increasing LPG prices beyond. तो इसमें ये सोल्यूशन एक देते हैं कि कैसे तो नज कर सकते हैं लोगों की वो ई कुकिंग या दिस इलेक्ट्रिक इंडक्शन चूल्हास एंड ऑल यूज करना स्टार्ट कर दे. हाउ this would be possible? How come this would be possible? This would be possible by putting a threshold on the LPG prices. How? Let us say if you are getting 7 cylinders that the average household consumes today at this price, let us say nominal price, but after the 7 cylinders you can put a threshold and you can thereby start raising the prices of cylinders gradually. So this will nudge people to actually give up on using LPG as a cooking fuel and shifting towards another sources of or diverse sources of cooking this. Fine. So e-cooking or new what could government do here? This could displace LPG in higher use groups and in turn create a demand for new e-cooking technologies and models and precipitate a bandwagon effect. Bandwagon effect is in economics especially. Bandwagon effect in general means that you start consuming a product or demanding a product when more number of people are actually demanding it. Fine. तो ज्यादा लोग किसी चीज को यूज करते हैं तो आप भी उसको डिमांड या यूज करना स्टार्ट कर देते हो. ठीक है. दिस इज कॉल्ड बैंडवैगन इफेक्ट. Demand from these early adopters can spur the domestic manufacturing ecosystem for e-cooking technology and stem this runaway dependence on imported LPG and crude. And the outflow of precious forex, of course, we can save on importing LPGs and gas. So by saving on forex exchange reserves. So these are the important takeaways from this article. With newly launched carbon market, India can actually monetize these avoided emissions and help finance the capital needed by poorer rural communities to adopt e-cooking. So of course, even carbon market, so we are talking about climate change and all, mitigation of carbon mitigation. So carbon market is basically where one set of consumer, or let us say producer, can exchange the carbon emissions this with another set, जहाँ पे एक ने ज़्यादा प्रोड्यूस किया, एक ने कम किया टारगेट से, तो दोनों कैन exchange with each other, fine, and they can earn the carbon credits, and this ultimately helps the country to cut down on the emissions. The debate needs to move from LPG subsidy alone to financing and business models that value India's clean cooking transition for its climate and clean air benefits through a bouquet of solutions. The government needs to come up with solutions, bouquet of solutions, that how we can make this transition towards clean cooking fuel, especially apart from or reducing our dependence on LPGs. So a good insight, a good article, especially about Pradhan Mantri with respect to Ujjwala Yojana. The debate on data. So from last few days, you might have seen lots of editorials and these articles related to the data, Indian statistical system actually, fine. So the debate on data hovers around 3 questions. So recently there has been a spate of writing on India's statistical system and the data produced by it. The ensuing debate has witnessed active participation from within and outside the government. While discussion on data and its veracity are welcome, veracity is truth, fine. The important point on the usefulness of available data to measure social and economic progress of a transforming economy looms large. Of course, data we required, like data is a new oil in fact. So we need to have a credible data. Economic and social goods ideally is a public good. Its provision, like many other public goods, is the responsibility of the government. Public good, fine. So public good which has nature of non-excludability and what? You cannot exclude other from consuming it. On another side, you cannot have this, like private goods where the focus is on making more of profits. Here the focus is on more of welfare, fine. Okay, so there are numerous data generating and publishing entities. They exclude data consumers through their pricing and restrictive access. So in private, of course, we have this excludability principle, which is not with the public data. So as noted by journalist Pramit Bhattacharya in a paper, India's statistical system was the envy of the world till early 1970s. However, over time, this saw a steady decline and has reached its present state, which is subject of the current debate. 3 issues is underlining, and these are actually the 3 issues related to the data issues in India. Related to the data, the 3 points emerging from this debate warrant a scrutiny. The first is related to the quality and credibility of the data, because quality and credibility of data matters in the sense that for policy formulation you actually need to have credible data if you want to generate some kind of or come up with certain kind of outcomes, fine. Then estimated or forecasted outcome can be there only when you have credible and quality data. So policy formulation, implementation and research are not possible without accurate and credible data, fine. This is closely connected with the form of the data and the value of information. Is dependent on the reliability of the source actually. So that's why it becomes important. The first is quality and credibility. The second is multiple agencies providing data on the same set of indicators for the same sector. Now this is the second issue. Multiple agencies जो हैं वो same set of data on the same issues provide कर रही हैं and उनमें दिक्कत क्या है, but giving different results or numbers. That's the issue. This poses the problem of choosing an appropriate data set to formulate policy. This is evident in the case of manufacturing sector, fine. So this is again an issue. The third, however, there is concern about large number of shell companies, fake companies being formed, which undermines the use of this data for GDP calculations. The third is the competence and ability of the system to generate and disseminate high quality data, fine. This is the third issue, is the competence and the ability of the system altogether to generate and disseminate high quality data, fine. So this is the third issue. Now what is the way forward? Issues तो हमने discuss कर लिए. What is the solution now? So urgent attention required. The non-availability of credit and coherent data on the economy and society is a problem that needs urgent attention. In fact, With 2021 census yet to take place and with the relook required for methods of surveys, data are not available for assessing economic performance and developmental outcomes. In the absence of such data, policymakers look for quick fixes and celebrate success on the outcomes derived from thin samples. Recently, Niti Aayog's National Multidimensional Poverty Index 2023, which used data from the National Family Health Survey of 2019-20, showed reduction in multidimensional poverty since 2015-16, and this index actually shown around reduction of 10% points of poverty as compared to the 2015-16. No doubt the NFHS has a robust methodology for collecting data for a specific purpose, but this particular index needs a caveat as it is based on sample of just 6 lakh households, while India has more than 30 crore households. So the National Multidimensional Index of Niti Aayog, which actually underlined that around 10% reduction has been noted down in the overall poverty in India from 2015-16 to up to 2021-22. So, but this data set, this study is based on the NFHS National Family Health Survey 5, that is 5th round of this NFHS. Latest figure is for the year 2019 and 21. But he is saying that one issue with this NFHS itself is that this NFHS survey is based on just 6 lakh households, but in India we have 30 crore households. Fine. So of course there is issue with this, the base itself. It is time for an overhaul of system. We need better communication between the creators and the users of data. Solution: there should be an attempt to move beyond dashboards and disseminate data more transparently. Again, solution: going back to the Rangarajan committee report, C. Rangarajan, former RBI governor, report 2001, and this report of C. Rangarajan committee actually led to the establishment of National Statistical Commission NSC in India in the year 2005. Okay, so taking stock of what has been done could be a good starting point. Fine. So we again need to go to the drawing room and then drawing board, and then again actually give a relook to this Rangarajan committee reports, and therefore come up with some and improve, especially on the front of Indian statistical system we have today. Fine. So this much is important from this. This is a data point. Women do 7 hours of housework, men under 3 hours. This trend is consistent for women across income levels and caste group. So you can see an unequal burden. You can quote somewhere in the society and social justice thing as well. So this is the charts are based on data collected from the World Bank website and the time use survey 2019 by the National Sample Survey Office, NSSO. You can see, you can understand the whole set of this small article with the help of bar charts or the data points. Number one is the chart shows female labor force participation rate in India and the enrollment rate for girls in class 10 since 1990. So you see the enrollment rate in class 10 for girls is 87% in the year 2020, but India's female labor force participation is just 24%. Fine. So this is here is a big gap. Second chart shows compares India's 2022 female LFPR, that is labor force participation rate, that out of 100 male, out of 100 people working, how many females and how many males are actually working. So out of 100, just 24 females are there in the workforce. So this is comparing with the BRICS countries, that is Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and South Africa. These are 5 countries. So this is a comparison. So with respect to these countries and even beyond that, Bangladesh and all, these are not the part of BRICS, but of course selected South Asian countries. So you see that in China, LFPR in 2022 was labor force participation rate for the females, actually we are talking about. In China it was somewhere around in the range of, you see 60 की जो line है उससे भी ऊपर है, almost touching this, means somewhere 59% or 60 you can say percentage of female workforce are there in China. But in India actually it is just 24 somewhere, we have already discussed. This is 24. No, 30 se bhi below dekhoge, it's not even touching the 60. So this is in terms of population is 700 million. Fine. Average time is spent on unpaid care during a day for men and women across employment groups. So जो employed है उसमें देखो women की कितनी है, employed है फिर भी almost they are spending around 350 days over day care, unpaid care work, and for men it is just 166. Unemployed हैं फिर थोड़ा ज़्यादा है. Then in labor force, those who are in labor force little bit कम, and not in labor force जो है ही नहीं labor force में 457. Similarly, average time is spent in minutes on unpaid care in day by men and women category wise by marital status. ठीक है, never married this much, red one showing women this unpaid work. Currently married, again you see more, almost more than double, fine, more than double. And then widow and divorce separated this much, fine. So this is the important point for us. Remember, in India in 2020 we had only 24% of labor participation of females actually. Then we have this, the hybrid EV imperative, electric vehicles, and from here we have different types of EV, fine. This is the time we are talking about the EVs, electric vehicles. And in this, firstly let us understand what is the net zero for. So we are talking about net zero, every country is talking about net zero. So net zero is not just for the countries per se or the economy, but for different sectors as well. So what exactly net zero means for the this EV sector? So net zero for vehicle includes emissions at both the tailpipe of the vehicle and at the power plant as well. Fine, means production as well as on the roadside as well. While you drive such vehicles, whether how much of they are emitting from the tailpipe. Making vehicles net zero requires cutting emissions from both new and existing vehicles. Fine, figure 1 shows the global sales of full EVs and plug-in hybrid EVs. So you can see global sales of full EVs and plug-in hybrid during this year 15-22. Battery electric and plug hybrid. Plug is electrically charged actually. So you can see in 2020 you have more of this part, means more of battery electric adoption rate for the this hybrid vehicles or EV vehicles. What are the different types of EVs? So we have certain types of EVs, electric vehicles. Any vehicle propelled by an electric drivetrain taking electric power from portable electric energy source is called electric vehicle. That's why you have name electric, taking the electric energy. In a hybrid EV, an internal combustion engine IC is used to produce electricity with an electrical generator. Fine. Used in hybrid EV as an energy buffer to store the electricity. The battery can't be charged from the grid because of certain issues. What are the issues? We'll see to it that a full EV, aka battery EV, or a plug-in EV has no ICE and hence no tailpipe emissions. So this is the benefit of or the advantages of having full or fully battery operated electric vehicles, because they don't have this ICE engine actually. So the battery typically is much larger at 20 to 120 kilowatt hour and it can only be charged from the grid. So इनके लिए especially जो full EVs हैं, not the hybrid ones, they need actually this electricity from the grid directly for charging because of the larger battery. A plug-in hybrid EV is still a hybrid EV with a much larger battery, typically 515 kilowatt. This larger battery can also be charged from the grid itself. This means plug-in hybrid operates like a fully electric vehicle as long as there is energy in the battery. And then another kind of, so we have hybrid, we have fully electric EVs, and we have one EV based called as electric vehicle itself, not fully but hybrid of using both. For example, if you see at today's अगर आज की बात करें present की on roads, mostly you see the hybrid EVs actually having both petrol engine as well as this battery. Okay, so a fuel cell EV uses a fuel cell to produce electricity for the drivetrain together with a small battery buffer to manage variations. So this is called fuel cell or the hybrid kind of. So what is the fuel economy of hybrid and fully electric vehicles? So of course the use of an ICE in combination with the generator and battery in a hybrid EV results in the fuel economy of these vehicles being around 1.5 to 2x times this. 1.5 से 2 times तक जो fuel है, जो economy है, economy in fuel terms वो बढ़ जाती है किसकी? Hybrid vehicles की या full electric vehicles की. Then in conventional IC vehicles for city driving at just 1 to 1.5 times higher for highway driving. So you can see that this difference between the conventional and the hybrids. So what are the net emissions of hybrid this EVs, electric vehicles? Apart from fuel economy, means saving on fuel actually, an important metric is the net emissions of a vehicle. Well-to-wheel emissions include both tailpipe and emissions due to fuel production, electricity or fossil fuels. The life cycle emission is more comprehensive index that includes actually well-to-wheel emissions and emissions due to vehicle and battery production. So this is again the grids of different countries are decarbonized to different extents at present. Figure 2 showing this. In the case of full EVs, the lower the emissions from power production, the lower the vehicles well-to-wheel life cycle emissions. So of course, for example, if you are running your vehicle on let us say conventional fossil fuels, of course already fossil fuels have higher carbon content, so of course the vehicle is going to produce more of emissions as well. Fine. So the positive relation. How do EVs life cycle emissions compare to ICE vehicles? According to an analysis by this International Council on Clean Transportation of life cycle emissions of various vehicles in the US, Europe and China and India, switching to full EVs will result in 19 to 34% lower emissions by sedans and 30 to 49% by SUVs, even with the fossil fuel dominated energy mix in India. Fine. So this is how we can see the net positive impact by adopting the EVs or the hybrid vehicles. The same report also compared the life cycle emissions of hybrid EVs with that of conventional EVs in Europe and found 20-23% lower emissions. But the biggest issue is the challenges transitioning to electric mobility. The first and most important challenge is a successful transition to full EVs requires fast charging infrastructure along with the highways. Majority of today the issues that we are facing today is related to the charging infrastructure. Fine, especially along the highway. So there, unless and until we don't have such kind of charging infrastructure, charging facilities on the highways actually, so people would be little bit of this of course will little bit avoid shifting towards or transitioning to electric vehicles. This is vital because people generally want to own one affordable car serving both short and long distance travel needs over 5 to 15 years and want to drive without range anxiety. The lack of fast charging infrastructure will definitely going to depress this or let people question their decision towards transitioning to full EVs. So fast charging means power level of 50 to 350 kilowatt for cars and up to 1000 kilowatt for heavy duty vehicles. Fine. To compare our smartphone charges at just 10 to 25, that is watt, not even kilowatt, but for the cars you need this much of kilowatt in the range. Fine. So of course we need infrastructure for that that matter as well. Alongside that, we will be will have to invest lot of money into that, because this is a capital intensive kind of this going to be the investment. The high cost and the wide variation are due to the high capacity power connections required, the cost of making installing new transformers and cables, service level agreements, DC charger plug options, and quantities customization cost, labor cost and permits. So these are all actually the cost or the investment front that in an electric infrastructure actually requires, where we need to shell out lots of money. Second issue is challenges. Many parts of the world, especially economically developing nations, don't yet have access to grid, or the grid isn't 100% reliable. Fine. The relatively high charging power for slow charging and fast charging make the problem more prominent. Means at times you need slow charging, let us say for less than 20 kilowatt, and fast charging for more than less than 350 kilowatt. So the variation or the range you see from 22 kilowatt to 350 kilowatt, for this variation actually the fluctuations in energy demand, somewhere our grid, this challenge would be related to the grid or the reliability of grid actually, fine, which is not at 100%. So of course this issue is related to the power grids. This in turn could retard the transition to EVs. The third important challenge is mass market price points of cars in the economically developing world are much lower. So conventional vehicles you see in the range of $12,000, whereas EVs with a range of 300-400 kilometers will reach parity with the conventional vehicles in the richest country at the price of $25,000 to $35,000, means almost double prices. So again, price of the electric vehicles is another factor actually, or another challenge in transitioning towards electric vehicles. So how can hybrid, what are the solution, or plug-in hybrid EVs can help us decarbonize? The current focus in the industry is on full EVs, which isn't practical for the immediate future given grid reliability, state of highways, charging infrastructure, and prohibitive vehicle costs. So these are the actually, in nutshell, the challenges or the factors which are actually prohibiting or जो रोक रहे हैं हमें from transitioning to electric vehicles. So how can we do this, cut down emissions? So plug-in and hybrids in particular can match several but not all of the benefits of full EVs vis-a-vis emissions and performance without requiring large batteries. With limited all-electric range, this may not cater to all use cases such as taxis. Regenerative braking in the hybrid EVs, that is recovering the kinetic energy of the vehicle while slowing down instead of dissipating it as a heat in the braking system, can improve fuel economy, especially in urban areas. So regenerative braking is one of the solutions actually which helps in slowing down instead of dissipating the kinetic energy of the vehicle. And engine start stop mechanism, again in many of the cars you find this mechanism in engines kill switch or engine start stop can also save fuel at traffic junctions and in heavy traffic. So another solution could be this. And finally, the purchase price of hybrid cars is only 5 to 15% higher than conventional vehicles and is independent of the vehicle range. So in an ideal future, all our electric comes from renewable sources. We power our EVs using solar energy during the day and with wind energy at night. Then only it could be affordable. Fine. So these are the way forwards. So in places where transitioning to renewables power for power and building fast charging infrastructure will take a decade or more, we need to switch to hybrid EVs as short-term solution due to the fuel economy and emission benefits. So current transition is happening actually in the field of hybrid EVs, and that is the only way forward for the short time period. Fine, considering all this, taking into account all these three major challenges that we have listed related to this transition. Next, a smaller article for which the government of India, or especially the CERT, that is Computer Emergency Response Team of India, has issued a warning, and that is Akira ransomware. So UPSC used to ask question like recently Akira was in news. So Akira is which among the following? What exactly is the Akira? Is a ransomware? Is a let us say robot? It's a let us say AI generative tool, something like that. So remember, it's a ransomware. Now, what is ransomware? So this is a kind of ransomware dubbed as Akira. The ransomware found to target both Windows and Linux devices steals and encrypt data, forcing victims to pay double ransom. That is for decryption and recovery. So what happens actually? This is a kind of ransomware or malware, you can say, which actually attacks your Windows or your laptop's computers. And double ransom demand. Ransom is firauti actually, which demands for decrypting your files, fine, and plus recovering your files, fine. So please be aware of this. Use better antivirus and all. So what is Akira ransomware exactly? It's a designed encrypt data, create a ransomware note, and delete Windows Shadow volume copies. Windows Shadow volume copies are basically, they are inbuilt softwares in the Windows which actually keeps on copying the files which you have on your in your system actually. So it creates a duplicate file of the same. So even this ransomware attacks this, means we are left with no recovery files. Remember, the ransomware gets its name due to its ability to modify file names for all encrypted files by appending them with the extension that is .akira. So be aware of this. This is ransomware. Just keep in mind this much of things. Fine. What can we do to protect against ransomware? So SOT has advised users to follow basic internet hygiene and protection protocols to ensure their security against ransomware. These include maintaining up-to-date offline backups of the critical data to prevent data loss in the event of an attack. So these are the solution actually which we can follow. Also advise periodic security audits for critical network systems, especially database servers. So these are the guidelines. Just remember from prelim exam point of view, what exactly is Akira? Akira is a ransomware. That much sufficient. Fine. Next, some miscellaneous facts. Figures at 8.2%. India's core sectors growth touches 5-month high in June. So we have 8 core sectors. So we have registered 5-month high in June at 8.2% of growth in these days. 8 core sectors, which constitute around 40.3% of the index of industrial production, that is IIP. Fine. So this is a positive thing for the economy. Apart from that, in Kanchipuram, Tamil Nadu, Foxconn signs deal with the Tamil Nadu to build plant in Kanchipuram. Foxconn is the company which actually assembles, is a Taiwan-based companies which actually this assembles, let us say, iPhone and all, a key supplier to Apple Inc. ISRO successfully puts Chandrayaan 3 in translunar orbit. So congratulations to all of us. Finally, we have put our this Chandrayaan 3 in the lunar orbit. Okay. Next, we have this. Okay, not that important. We have already discussed this, that cannot be excused to use other states' violence for justifying what's going on in Tamil Nadu and this Manipur. And Sri Lanka envoy bats for land connectivity between India and Sri Lanka. El Nino effect will suppress rainfall in the second half of the monsoon. This is what IMD said. Okay. Next, we have world page. Myanmar junta extended state of emergency for 6 months. In Myanmar, we have military rule, so it has been extended for 6 months more. Pakistan bomb blast. France is plotting to intervene militarily to reinstate President Bazoum, says Niger junta. So Niger, again, Niger is the poorest country in the African nation, fine. And it was earlier, let us say, this earlier the rule over this Niger was of France only. So of course, somewhere they are anticipating France intervention in this, because again in Niger as well, like Myanmar, there is military rule going on. Just 2-3 days back, actually, the military rule took over the civilian government of Niger. Then business page, not that important. Government floats draft national deep tech startup policy. Fine. This has been floated for this public discussion. The moment this will stakeholder discussion purpose के लिए इसको release किया गया है. Further, we'll be keeping tab on this. Moment it will something like Bill and All Act. We're discussing this in detail. Fine. Then we finally landed on the sports page. See. So that's it, probably from the today's newspaper. And yes, now the questions left. So my laptop has been hacked actually and not working. So even lost my files as well. But anyhow, let us have few questions, at least 1-2 questions from this today's Hindu analysis. I'm writing the question. So I'm using the PPT for writing the question. And don't worry about that. I will send these questions in WhatsApp group as well. Fine. But for the moment, those who are not there, you can write the question itself. Okay, so the first question is, data is the new oil. So the question from today's analysis, data is the new oil. Critically analyze this statement. With the critically analyze this statement with the current state of the Indian statistical system. Statistical system. Fine. So this is a question. Data is the new oil. Critically analyze this statement with respect to the current state of Indian statistical system. This is a question for 20 mark again, 10 marks, sorry, and you need to write this answer in 150 words. Fine. So this is a question for your mains. I'll be sending the file, which you will be having a question from Graham's perspective as well. But for the time being, I'm just leaving this here only because I said my file has already been lost due to some issue with the laptop itself. So of course you will receive these questions, one question from mains, the same question plus one for prelims will be circulated in the respective groups. Fine. So that's it from the today's analysis. Thank you. If you have any question, anything, you can put the same in the comment section. Until then, take care, keep revising, and stay tuned for the tomorrow's Hindu analysis. Thank you.